Welcome back to the channel, guys. So a little bit of a different video today. I'm going to be taking you through a full training session. Obviously in the gym, it's 2 weeks until I start my marathon prep, so I've just changed over to a slightly different strength training split, which I'm going to be running you over why today. This gym is amazing. I've never been to it before. It's a friend of a friend's place, and they allow you to come in with videographers. So we're going to get some really good clips today and some good photos too. But yeah, 2 weeks out from sub 2:45 marathon prep. So the focus of these 2 weeks is to get some good quality strength training in. I've reduced the amount of running and cycling that I'm doing for about 10 days, just to give the body an opportunity to recover. I've been back in Dubai now for almost 2 months, and I've been killing it with the training, more volume than I've ever done, a lot of base building, low intensity cardio alongside my strength training. But yeah, we're gonna get into it today. As you can see, if we have a look around, it's a performance gym. I think they do a lot of high rocks classes here, so I don't think there's actually any machines. So I'm gonna be adapting a few of the sessions today on my program, but that's a key skill. You know, if you're traveling and you go into different gyms, sometimes you don't have access to all of the bits of equipment that you want. But yeah, it's gonna be a full body training session today. Basically the way it's structured is we have some warm-up movements at the start. I'll run you over a few of those. We've got some lower body movements kind of in the middle of the session, and then upper body towards the end. I've switched over from upper body, lower body, full body to basically 2 full body strength sessions with a good amount of leg work in, and then almost like an upper body day at the end of the week. And the reason that I've done that is for 2 reasons. It's to reduce the amount of fatigue and pain and soreness that I'm gonna be holding in my legs, because when I increase the mileage for this marathon prep, I don't wanna hold myself back from the longer runs and the speed work by having a load of fatigue in my legs. And it's basically just so I can continue to work on the little weaknesses that I have. I think if you've ever done a lot of races, marathons, half marathons, you'll know that little niggles start to come up. So it's really important to look after the body and address those things, because the last thing I want is to get halfway through this prep and have an injury. So we're gonna get stuck in today. So just got a hamstring iso bridge just to get everything fired up. I had ACL surgery 15 years ago on my right leg, where they cut a little bit of my hamstring off, so this right hamstring is so much weaker than my left. So again, going back to what I was saying before, super important that I work on these little weaknesses to avoid injury. But the body's feeling pretty good, to be fair. I think it's more just nervous system fatigue after a lot of training over the last 6 weeks. So that movement that you've just seen there is a hip airplane variation. You might have heard of it before. I know a lot of people, when they run, their hips start to tighten up, and they sometimes feel like one side is maybe working a little bit harder than the other, or one side's tighter, one side's looser. That is probably the best movement that I have found to not only strengthen up your hips and your glute medius, but also just improve the mobility of the hip as well. Because you can see I'm rotating in and then fully opening up, and I'm jamming that foam roller into the wall to improve that hip internal rotation. So really, really good one for runners and people that just want a strong, functioning lower body. Okay, so first compound movement that we've got, trap bar deadlift, but I'm gonna be doing a split stance variation, which I'll explain why after I've done the warm-up set. I'll be going fairly heavy on this, over 100 kilos. So I'll do a couple of warm-up sets, probably a set of 6 on each side. I think this bar is probably around 25 to 30 kilos, and then a slightly heavier set, and then we'll get into the working sets. Yeah, I think that bar is probably 20 different gyms will have different trap bars. That's pretty thin, so I think that was probably 60 kg. So the reason I'm doing the single leg split stance variation is because the main goal for me at the moment is to maintain muscle, maintain strength, and improve my running performance. I'm pretty strong in the lower body. I've always trained my legs twice a week, pretty much ever since I started training, which was over 14 years ago. For me, I know I'm not going to build any strength in this marathon prep, so it's all about maintaining function, as I say, maintaining strength. If I went and did a bilateral variation there and lifted 160 kg plus, I'm just going to generate too much fatigue, which is going to hold me back from performing well in this prep. So really, really good variation for the runners. Obviously you get a really good amount of posterior chain engagement, glutes, hamstrings, a little bit of lower back and quads as well. Second working set on the split stance trap bar deadlift, bit of a mouthful, 120 kg I think this bar is 20, so it's either 120 or 125, shooting for 5 reps on each leg. I've explained it before, but I opt for the single split stance variation for 2 reasons. Obviously I'm running a lot. I want to train each leg individually to some extent so I don't create imbalances. And if I went to a bilateral variation, I'd probably have to add on another 40 to 50 kg, which is just going to generate more fatigue, which will affect the running. So just 5 reps here, just 2 working sets in total, that's all I need. Right, next one, possibly the most hated exercise that I'll ever program for clients, but it's super beneficial for aesthetics and performance too. So rear foot elevated split squat. You'll notice when I do the working set here that I'm also elevating the front foot on a plate. Reason for that is a lot of benches will be different heights in different gyms, and if the bench is too high, it'll push you forward and you actually won't be able to get down to 90 degrees at the knee, which is what we need to be aiming for. So I'm actually just using 1 dumbbell. The reason for that is I want to work on that internal rotation of the hip, and you'll notice as well that I'm actually trying to get my knee over my toe to actually strengthen the knee joint as well, to avoid things like runner's knee. So just 2 working sets again, probably going for 10 reps here. I always start with my right leg because it's weaker. So everyone's going to have a slightly weaker side, so I'd always say start with that one first. So down to just below 90, knee over the toe, drive back up, 2 to 3 second eccentric on the way down, 1 second pause, drive back up. So I'd always take probably 30 seconds between each leg just to make sure that the quality is there on the second leg. Okay, so on to the upper body now. That's why the top's off. Getting some good photos for Instagram too. We've done 2 working sets on the neutral grip pull-up, weighted. We're gonna do 3 sets of 5 in total on 17.5 kg. I don't think I had neutral grip pull-ups in my last training block, so just building those up again. As I said before, not expecting to make a huge amount of strength improvements across the whole body, to be honest, but I'm going to do my absolute best to maintain strength. I'm weighing around 80.5 kg at the moment, still pretty lean. I ran my last marathon, which was last December, which would have been 9 months ago, 8.5, 9 months ago, at 77.5 kg. So I'm a good bit heavier now, but I've definitely built a little bit of muscle over the last 6 months since I did my photo shoot. So I want to drop a couple of kg just because I'll be a more efficient runner. I think, an extra 2 to 3 kg, it really does add up over a marathon. So I'll be looking to get down to around 78.5. I think I'll still look good, still hopefully maintain all the muscle, but be able to run a little bit faster. And I won't make any drastic changes to my diet in order to achieve that. Naturally, the volume of my training is going to go up anyway, so I should just burn it off. That's what happened last time. Dropped down from about 80 to 77.5 last time. So yeah, going to do one more working set here and then move on to some dumbbell press. So that's the incline press done. Just 2 working sets. Because I'm training full body now, I get a couple of push movements in twice a week, so low volume per session, but throughout the week it's pretty good. 32.5 for 2 sets of 8. Not my heaviest, but be having a little bit of trap discomfort, and I know that when I press too heavy, my shoulders tend to roll forward like a lot of people, so deliberately went a little bit lighter there, trying to retract the scapula and get a really good stretch in the chest. You could see at the bottom I was pausing consciously for a second. Mobility stretching has its place, and I do a good amount of that myself, but the best way to stay mobile and stretch a muscle is under load through strength training. So we're just finishing off with some arm work now. We've done dips there, a couple of sets of bicep curls, which you wouldn't have seen. But I'm going to wrap up the workout here, and then what I'm going to do is jump on a vlog myself later on today or tomorrow and summarize kind of what we did in this training session and why, and let you know what the plan for the next couple of months is. But awesome gym. If you are in Dubai and you're a coach or you want to get some content, I would definitely recommend coming down to Believe in Dubai. Is it Dubai Hills Part 1? Dubai Hills. Really, really nice. Big issue with gyms in Dubai at the moment is they don't like you filming. So whenever we can get a space like this to ourselves, it's priceless. So we're definitely going to come back in here at some point. Yes, guys, what's happening? So I'm actually sat editing that vlog. Well, not a vlog, workout that you will have seen. So as promised, just wanted to wrap up, explain the changes to my training split, give you an update of where I'm at, and then get this video uploaded. So yeah, it was a bit of a mishmash, that session, but hopefully you took some value from it in the way that I am structuring my training at the moment. Basically, the changes that I made to my training recently, going on to a marathon prep versus just kind of ticking over, building strength, building a little bit of muscle, maintaining running fitness. Now the priority really over the next 16.5 weeks is to obviously continue to build running fitness. The intensity of the running is going to increase as I start the proper Marathon prep, the intensity will really start to pick up in week 5 when I start doing basically 2 harder runs per week. So I'll have a speed session and a longer run with some race pace work in there to get me used to running that faster pace that I'm trying to hit of the marathon. But the physique, body composition focus is basically to actually drop a little bit of weight. So obviously I don't want to drop muscle, I'll be looking to drop body fat. So if anything, condition actually should improve. And looking back at my photos from my last marathon last December, I think that was my favorite look, to be honest. I was really lean. It was effortless in the sense of my output was really high through the running and the strength training, steps were in a good spot, and I was eating a good amount of food. So I'm very much a fan of letting the high training volume expenditure just do its thing and naturally lean you down. But you can only do that if you are really dialed in with your macros and you're also addressing the recovery side of things, especially with sleep, supplementation, managing overall fatigue, training volume, and things like that. But the reason, as I mentioned in that video, that I've switched over from upper lower full body to 3 full body is basically just to reduce the fatigue that I would feel from, for example, my heavier leg day. It's a lot of volume to put in one day, and I'll be sore definitely the next day and possibly 2 days. And when you're trying to hit certain paces in a marathon prep to build fitness but also improve confidence, I don't want to be holding too much of a fatigue in the lower body. So in terms of lower body volume, it's actually pretty similar, but you're just distributing it differently throughout the week. And I love full body training. Like, I come from an athletic, functional background, if you want to call it that. I like to train my body as a system. I think for people trying to build muscle, if that's the main focus, then you absolutely should be doing a 3-day split, like upper lower full body, or even a 4-day split where it's like upper lower push posterior, something like that. And I've actually, I think I've gained a good bit of size, to be honest, over the last 6 to 7 months by following that split. But for me now, like, I don't want to build any muscle. I actually want to lean down a little bit. Obviously don't want to lose lean muscle mass, but I've basically not got any ambitions to build muscle. So I really like this style of training. I enjoy doing, the functional movements, putting a little bit of plyometric work in there, doing a good amount of lower body volume in the calves and the hamstrings as well. So yeah, that's the plan. So I'm kind of in like my last bridging week into the marathon prep this week. I took a recovery week last week and my body was thanking me for it about 2 days in. Recovery metrics, I've been in the yellow in terms of recovery on Whoop for like 4 or 5 days consecutively. Pull down training intensity, training volume, and recovery went right back up into the green for like 5 days straight. And now I'm in a good spot. I did some threshold work this morning, did a 2K warm up, and then 4x2K at 3:55 with a 1K float, totaling up at 14K. Possibly filming with my friend Conrad on Thursday, so we might be doing some intervals there. And then I'll be doing probably 18K on the weekend at around a 4:50 to 5 minute per kilometer, and then things kick off next week. So I'll keep you updated, but hope you found the video useful. It's pretty easy for me to get access to that gym. So if you do like the raw workout style where I basically just walk you through my training and give a little bit of advice on how to actually perform the movements in your sessions, then let me know, because it's, as I say, it's easy to set up.